My father, who dressed in a typical Yerushalmi garb, came to me and he said to me, Yehudit, I want you to know something. I love you. In spite of whatever happens, you'll always be my daughter, and I'll never forget who you are, and you'll always be close to me. The story is about an individual who was in Har HaMenuchot, which is where the cemetery is in Yerushalayim. He was there because every year he celebrates his father's yortzeit. And it was the 20th year of the yortzeit of his father. And he brought a minyan there in order to be able to say Kaddish for his father. As they were getting ready to wrap things up and have a seudah in memory of the yortzeit of his father, something very interesting took place below the hill below. A man came in a car. He stopped the car and something very weird took place. He took a red carpet and unraveled the carpet, and the carpet led from his car all the way to a certain gravestone. And there, something even more bizarre happened. He took two sticks, he stuck them in the ground, and then he unrolled a sign and says, "Will you marry me?" And we were wondering, what's this going on here? What a disrespect it is to people who are dead here. This is a holy place. And for a person to ask a woman that he wants to marry her there, we were beside ourselves. We didn't know what was going on. He got back into his car and he drove away. 20 minutes later, he comes back. The passenger door opens. A girl sees the sign. She starts to cry and cry hysterically. And she says, "Yes, yes." At this point, we knew there was a story. And we wanted to know what's going on here. So we all walked down the path and we said to them, "What's going on here? This is the most bizarre thing. Are you proposing to her that you want to marry her?" And we were all like curious. So she looks at the man. She says, "David, I know they want to know my story. Why don't I share my story with them?" So she starts to share her story with all of us. And it was the most amazing story. She says her name was Judy. She grew up in a family that was Dati. She says, "My father lived for Torah mitzvot. He was an incredible Talmid Chacham. I was the fourth child amongst 10 children. We all went to the very best yeshivot and Beis Yaakovs. And then something happened to me when I was in high school. I started questioning Yiddishkeit, and I slowly went off the derech. I was accepted to one of the best seminaries because my family we always got into the best schools. But then a month later, I did something that was unacceptable, and I was thrown out. And slowly but surely, I started learning from bad girls on the streets. And I started changing my clothing. And I didn't look religious anymore. My father, who dressed in a typical Yerushalmi garb, came to me and he said to me, "Yehudit, I want you to know something. I love you. In spite of whatever happens, you'll always be my daughter, and I'll never forget who you are, and you'll always be close to me." And so every week, my father would take me on a walk twice a week, even though that my clothes had changed. I didn't dress anymore b'tzniut. I was now walking around in shorts. I dyed my hair blonde. I had an earring and nose rings in my nose. But my father didn't care. My father said to me, "It's okay, I accept you for what you are." And as 10 years went by, I had moved away from the family. And my brothers and sisters would get married, and they didn't care if I came to the weddings dressed not properly, b'tzniut or without b'tzniut. Everyone loved me, and they took good care of me. And I had really left the derech. I wasn't religious anymore. After 10 years, I started to wonder, maybe I want to be religious again. Maybe I want to come back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And I decided quietly on myself that I'm going to start keeping Shabbat again. And I decided after 10 years, and I'm not going to tell my family, after Shabbat, I'm going to call them and let them know that I am coming back, that I'm not being choser b'tshuva. And so it was the first time in 10 years that I kept Shabbat. After Shabbat, it was my plan to call my mother and say, "Abba and Ima, I'm coming back. I'm going to be choser b'tshuva." But then I was beaten to the punch because I got a phone call right after Shabbat was ended. And it was my mother. And she was calling me from the hospital. Abba's been taken into the hospital. He had a heart attack and he's in ICU and he's in grave danger. And I was wondering what's going on. And then an hour and a half later, I got the phone call. My father had passed away, and I started screaming, "Why'd you leave me, Abba? I wanted to show you that I came back, that I was religious again. I went to the funeral and I fainted. I felt so bad." And I told my family how I decided to be choser b'tshuva. And then it took me a while to get over it. And then in the last couple of years, I was in Shidduchim. Someone introduced me to David. David, who is my chatan, went through the very same test that I had. He also had come from a religious family. He also had gone off the derech. And then David knew my struggles. He knew what I went through. After 2 years, David decided to propose to me. And David brought me here and he said to me, "You know what, Yehudit, what's the best place in the world that I can propose to you? Not in a restaurant, not in a gorgeous location. I want to propose to you at your father's kever. Your father, the one who cared about you, the one who was sensitive to your needs, the one who never embarrassed you, the father who always gave you love and attention in spite of the fact there was a big busha to him that you had left the derech. He loved you. He never stopped caring about you. This is the best place that we can have our proposal, because he's in Shemaim right now, but he watches everything." Ladies and gentlemen, the lesson that we have to take from this story is that in spite of whatever our children go through, we have to always show love and affection. We should never lose our patience for them. We should always be there to nurture them and to guide them, regardless of the circumstances. And if we do so, we can be assured that they'll always come back to us. They'll always be there for us.